So Don can go. Standing like where you are right now.
Good morning. Can we ask that everyone, please, those committee members, please take your seats? I have 11:30. Madam Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting, our January 22nd, 2026 Citizen Charter Review Committee meeting number 7. Our chair is not able to be with us today. She is out sick with, I think most of us have heard whatever is going around. And she was kind enough not to give us whatever it was by not being here today. And I thank her for that as well. So hopefully she is watching us today. So you have before you our agenda. We will start with our consent, and then we will move forward with our public comment and our general business. We have 3 items listed on our general business. For our consent, we have the approval of our January 8, 2026 meeting minutes and receipt and file of written public comments. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the consent. That's a motion made by Mr. Ryan. Mr. Ray, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hurley. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you so much. Our consent agenda is approved. Moving on to public comment. We have 3 speaker cards, and you're asked if you want to make public comment that you fill out a speaker card, and you're reminded to please give your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Our first speaker this morning, Melanie, is this? Thank you, ma'am. Andrade, thank you so much. Name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you, Vice Chair. My name is Melanie Andrade. My address is 3349 Argonaut Drive, 32312. I live in District 3. It's good to be here and speaking to you all again about another issue I'm passionate about. My name is Melanie. I'm a mother of 3, longtime resident and advocate here in Tallahassee, Leon County. And today I'm here as a member leader of Tallahassee Alert, which stands for the African American Local Election Review Team. And I'm here because I believe that the county charter is where Leon County sets its long-term values, and that is exactly where the restoration of communities from historic harm amendment belongs. For decades, public policies, not accidents, shaped which neighborhoods in Leon County thrived and which were left behind. Segregation-era zoning, housing, school, healthcare, and infrastructure decisions systematically denied opportunity to communities like Frenchtown, Bond, Griffin Heights, Providence, and South City. Those public decisions created a geographic concentration of disadvantage that we can still see today, in higher poverty rates, lower homeownership, higher uninsured rates, and poorer health outcomes in the same areas. Historically discriminatory housing and lending practices also limited wealth creation in specific neighborhoods. In some parts of Leon County, homeownership rates remain below 15% compared to more than 50% countywide. These outcomes did not happen by chance. They are the predictable result of past public policy choices. That is why this amendment matters. The Restoration of Communities Amendment does not mandate spending, and it doesn't raise taxes. What it does is create a framework that requires the county to acknowledge and consider historic public policy harm when making major decisions. Placing this framework in the charter is important because ordinances can change, but charter language protects responsibility across political shifts. This amendment is not only about repairing past harm, it also helps prevent future harm by requiring impacts to be considered before damage is done. And if a restoration fund is ever authorized, it does not require funding, but it simply creates a lawful place for restoration when grants, mitigation funds, or settlements do become available. This amendment does not ask for special treatment. It asks for responsible government. I respectfully urge this committee to advance the Restoration of Communities from Historic Harm Amendment for charter drafting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Ms. Stephanie McMillan. You have 3 minutes. Please give your name and address for the record.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie McMillan. I am a mother of three, and I reside on the south side of Tallahassee. For decades, public policy, not accidents, shaped which neighborhoods thrived and which ones were left behind. Those policies still affect our community today. Segregation-era policies in Leon County influence where residents lived, went to school, and received public investment. Historically marginalized neighborhoods were disproportionately affected by zoning, education, healthcare, and infrastructure decisions. These historic actions continue to shape present-day outcomes, with these areas experiencing higher poverty, lower home ownership, higher uninsured rates, and poorer health outcomes. Counties across the country use home rule authority to adopt restoration and accountability principles. Leon County has the same authority. This amendment neither mandates spending nor raises taxes. It requires consideration of historic public policy harm in major county decisions. I respectfully ask this committee to recommend the restoration of committee's amendment for inclusion in the charter. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Ms. Serenity Williams. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Serenity Williams. I live in 4011 Elder Lane in Lake Jackson. I won't repeat a lot of what other folks have said, but I'm also speaking in favor of the Restoring Communities Amendment. Again, a lot of the disparities that we see in this county have been policy choices made by previous politicians, elected officials, and what have you. And for us to be able to restore those communities and be able to be the shining light at the top of this state, we should have this language adopted into our charter. Again, those neighborhoods being like Frenchtown, Bond, Griffin Heights, Providence, South City, a lot of those places were systemically denied opportunity through zoning, infrastructure, housing, and service decisions. And now those same neighborhoods have high poverty rates, lowest home ownership, and poor health outcomes. And again, that pattern didn't happen by chance. It was decided on purpose through policy. And that is why we need the Restoring Communities Amendment to be able to correct those policies. Existing programs done in the county demonstrate good intentions and they have done good work so far, but persistent disparities demonstrate structural failure, and the charter exists precisely to correct those failures. I urge you all to vote for this amendment to give us an opportunity to vote on this as a community so we can move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else wishing to have public comment? Those are the only 3 cards that I had, but just want to make sure. Is anyone else wishing to speak this morning? All right, thank you. So we've ended our portion of our public comment. We'd like to move on to our general business. So we have 3 agenda items, and to some that may not look like a lot, but that's a lot for this group to undertake. So we want to move to staff will have a presentation on each one of the agenda items. I would like, after the staff presentation, if we could have a motion on whichever option we want to discuss. And if we could have, I would say perhaps 30 minutes of discussion on each one of those items so we could stay within our time frame of 2 hours this morning. We can complete everything and be out of here. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over to Ken for agenda item number 1, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Last month, the committee requested a comparative analysis of county charters that include a set of Bill of Rights. Member Hurley provided a handout with some draft Bill of Rights language. At a subsequent meeting, he also provided a copy of the Miami-Dade County Charter, which includes a section dedicated to a Bill of Rights. Big picture, a Bill of Rights expresses your fundamental values of a community and local government, which can be codified in your charter, by ordinance, by resolution. There's really no one way to do it, but we're going to talk a little bit about it. For Leon County, our charter, first section in the charter is the preamble, and that affirms our community's values and beliefs. It emphasizes the importance of home rule, that government decisions be made at the local level. It explicitly states county government should be reflective of the people, that it should strive to achieve a more responsive and efficient form of government and empower the people of this county to make changes to their own government. While this isn't a dedicated Bill of Rights, it does reflect, again, the values and beliefs of our community. It's intentionally broad so that the county can adapt and respond to new challenges as determined by the elected officials, county commission in this case. For counties that do have a distinct Bill of Rights, most are adopted by ordinance or resolution. Remember, there's 67 counties, 20 charter counties. We identified in your materials 4 counties that have a Bill of Rights in their charter, but they're done 2 different ways. So 4 county charters, 2 different ways. Miami-Dade and Broward both have sections in their charters with an extensive list of Bill of Rights. They're defined and described in great detail. Some of those examples are provided in the agenda analysis, but we give you the full narrative in attachment 2 just so you can reflect on those. Keep in mind that anything you put in the charter cannot conflict with state or federal laws. So a lot of the rights that you see in these charters are what mirror what is currently today in state and federal law, from access to records, right to notice for government meetings, the right to be heard at a government meeting, all things we do on a daily basis. The Orange and Pinellas County charters are a little bit different. They have a much more succinct section for Bill of Rights. They provide a listing of topics, but then direct the county commission to further address these issues by ordinance. That's also intentional. It recognizes that you have a lot of definition and detail that will need to be revised and amended by the county commission over time as changes evolve and different things need to be addressed. All 4 charters, they have a lot of overlap. Again, talked about access to records, right to be heard, the use of public property. These things are items that we have defined in county policies today, county ordinances today, and we're required to meet statutory federal laws. Again, members, this really is just an informational item. We just want to provide you a high-level summary of this comparative analysis. We're recommending option number 1, that you accept the report, but I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you, Ken. Staff is recommending option 1. Chair recognizes Mr. Hurley.
Thank you all. So I did just want to point out that staff is recommending option 1 on this item, the next item, and the next item, and has always recommended doing nothing. And so that's why we're discussing this. I really liked what School Board Member Jones said a couple meetings ago about...
Mr. Hurley, let's have a motion so then we can open up for discussion, if you don't mind.
So-
I know you were the maker of this proposal, so you recognize.
Okay, so the motion would be to direct staff to prepare a charter amendment providing a Bill of Rights for Leon County citizens.
Okay, so you're recommending option 2.
Sure.
Okay, there's a motion for option 2. Is there a second for option 2?
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Mr. Hurley, second by Dr. Strobel. Now we will have discussion, Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, I thought that School Board Member Jones had a very insightful kind of structural framework for how we approach this work. He had brought up that there are several proposals and that the Bill of Rights could be a kind of all-encompassing kind of wrapping paper around the other ones. Some of the discussion that we've had is whether or not this is binding or non-binding. What was staff's analysis on that issue, on the other charters?
Ken, I'm sorry, Nikki or Ken?
Miami-Dade did have language that spoke to being able to seek judicial remedies. The other counties did not. It's important to keep in mind when the rights mirror issues that are reflected in state law, you always have the state court process available and the violations and remedies defined in state statute when there's a violation. So the other 3 counties did not have specific remedies for the Bill of Rights, just Miami-Dade.
Thank you. I guess I more specifically meant not what court remedies would be in there, but whether or not they had any, where would you, I think, do you know what I'm getting at, Ken? That there was a discussion about whether or not it was binding or not?
Right, no, because they're value statements. So
Right.
they're not things that you can remedy in a court of law unless they're violation of state statute, which in many cases they are.
That's the perfect word I was searching for, value statements. Were the other four a collection of value statements?
Yeah, in the charter for Orange and Pinellas, they were more topics to be defined in ordinance, whereas Dade and Broward specifically detailed what the right to access means.
Yeah, I would love to hear from some of the other committee members, but I think that looking at what Miami and Broward did would be a good starting place.
You recognize.
I just asked, what are you trying to accomplish, Max, by doing this? I mean, I think a lot of the laws that's already dictated by state and the right to a judicial process, I'm pretty sure that's dictated somewhere else. So I don't, what are you trying to accomplish? What specific Bill of Rights are you wanting in there that you think adds something?
Yeah, so I'm trying to make sure that enshrined in the Leon County Charter are things like people's right to peace, privacy, and safety within their home, that people are entitled to know how their government acts in their name and to question it without fear, that people are entitled to the quiet enjoyment of Leon County's clean air and clean water, and other rights as expressed on this attachment.
Lawyer, but I think
That was the language included in the original handout I passed around. So it's page 18 of this attachment.
Do we have any other questions or comments? Chair recognizes Mrs. Edwards.
I'm going to follow up a little bit on the question that Mr. Smith asked, and that is there something that we're trying to fix, or are we trying to create additional rights? Because I'm wondering if there is a record of not providing these rights such that we need to specifically state them in the charter.
Mr. Hurley.
Yeah. Y'all, I was reading our charter as part of my preparation for joining this group, and I was reading the Leon County Charter, and I noticed that it didn't have any statements in it about the values that we hold dear as a community. And so it is trying to look at that, assess what values we hold dear as a community, and put it in our charter, similar to what Miami has done, similar to what Broward has done, and to varying other procedural ways the other two counties have done.
Chair recognizes Attorney Ellis.
So are you talking about having some enforcement mechanism for this, like they do, like they have in the Dade County Charter? Like it would be duplicative and there would be judicial remedies in the event that the county was violating these?
What exists currently for the other provisions within the charter for that question?
Chair recognizes Ms. Hatch.
So the overarching majority of the Bill of Rights provisions across all four counties included in your item are things that are already provided for either under state or federal law or under the U.S. or state constitution, as shared by Ken earlier. The only exception to that would be Miami-Dade County, which includes a right of a commission on ethics to enforce any violations of those Bill of Rights, but that would be the one and only exception.
The chair recognizes the county attorney.
I want to be careful. I don't want to spill anything else over here. So I would also point out that in preparing for this meeting, I also reviewed, because I thought enforcement mechanism issues or questions might come up, there is case law that says that a local government cannot waive its sovereign immunity. So to the extent there is some effort to create an enforcement mechanism in the county charter it would not be possible to do that in any way that waives the county's sovereign immunity. That takes a Florida constitutional amendment or action of the state legislature. This body and the county do not have that authority.
Hold on 1 second. You done, madam?
I'm finished. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Mr. Hurley.
I had a follow-up. Can you explain that? What would that mean? What would it mean to waive one's sovereign immunity?
So to create liability for the county in any actionable way. Otherwise, the county is protected from suit by sovereign immunity. So an example of where there's been a waiver is in section 768.28 related to torts. So if an employee of the county commits a tort and is sued, that's when it is possible to sue the county. If a judgment is obtained, there are the statutory caps for that currently in 768.28. And if the judgment exceeds those caps, that's when people have to go to the legislature and request a claims bill or file a claims bill and seek relief from the state to pay anything above those caps. But that is an express waiver of sovereign immunity in state law.
And I really appreciate you pointing this out and thinking about this. Are we aware of other situations where this has become an issue from Bill? I know I'm asking you a pretty extensive legal research question here, but did you see any times where there was lawsuits over, I think you said maybe there was something in Miami-Dade in the past where someone tried to mention it in a lawsuit?
In the context of an ordinance, it was the city of Fort Lauderdale that adopted an ordinance saying, hey, if we're found to have violated any law, we will pay above the caps that are provided in state law. At the time, they were like $50,000. This case is a little bit old. And that was challenged. They were found to have, one of their, I think it was a law enforcement officer, was found to have violated and committed a tort. It went to court whether or not, and received a judgment more than $50,000 over the statutory caps. It was determined by the court that the county did not have the authority in that ordinance to waive its sovereign immunity and exceed those statutory caps. So that's an example there. There's also an AG opinion that talks about, it was in the context of a county charter and whether, I can't remember the jurisdiction, but whether that county could waive its right to certain tax revenues. And the court determined, or the AG in that case again determined that no, those are provided by the Florida Constitution. And in that case, the county did not have the ability to waive its sovereign immunity and deviate from the tax authority that's allowed by the Florida Constitution.
Okay, hold on, Mr. Hurd. You know, we have to allow other people to speak, so we're not going to come back to you each and every time. So, Ms. Attorney Ellis, do you have any other questions? Are you?
No, thank you,
Okay,
Justin.
well, Chair will recognize Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
Morning.
From our very first meeting, I have been very, very clear about how I feel about the charter. And I have expressed frequently about what I believe is the nobility inherent in the document, or what I believe should be the nobility that can be found in the document. Here now with this current recommendation coming from staff, I think about the preamble language that we currently have for Leon County, and I think about our own. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish judges, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution, as found in the preamble of our United States Constitution. I looked forward to some type of noble language, whether it was constituted in the Bill of Rights or potentially here in our preamble. All the alphabet soups aside, because I brought that up at our last meeting, right, about, again, what I want or what I would hope can be found, and our solution may be found in the language in our preamble for the charter, is that we expressly esteem our shared humanity. That we protect that regardless of who is elected, who is the administrator, we will not do harm to our neighbors. And that then informs how we govern, how we spend our policies. So if we were to esteem, and simple language, and again, this goes back to the nobility of words. Here, for all that we have here, is very, very positive and affirming. All I would hope is that we would just hold sacrosanct that our choices, whether we find it in the preamble or in the Bill of Rights, and then it takes care of so many of the other issues that we talk about. If we were to merely say that we esteem the humanity found in our neighbors, or some turn of phrase, I leave others to wordsmith it, doesn't require any co-opting of language or co-opting of polity. In fact, it should be apolitical. But we believe that our neighbors have value and that we see the humanity in them. And if that is captured, then all the other things just seem to fall into place to me.
Mr. Jones, I don't know anyone who's better at wordsmithing than you. So you said you would leave that to someone else, but I don't know, one of the best. So, but Mr. Jones, as I listen to you, are you offering a substitute motion perhaps to option 2, or are you just making comments?
Making comments, but no, I wasn't in the motion.
Option 2. We're on option 2 right now. Option 2 is to direct staff to prepare a charter amendment providing a Bill of Rights for Leon County citizens. But as I was listening to you, I think if I,
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. And all these other descriptors, whether due process and all, that's beyond me. That's where I talk about getting into policy. We're talking about with this preamble, what we hold as our values. And that's what I want to see expressed. And that change occurs simply in our preamble. All the other stuff that's political aside, I just want to be an affirmation of sorts.
yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Chair recognizes Mr. Wilcox.
Sorry, it's on. Good. More of a process question. With option 2, are we voting to proffer Mr. Hurley's 10 rights to the Board of County Commissioners? Or are we asking the Board of County Commissioners to develop a set of rights?
No, what Mr. Hurley provided to us, if I'm not mistaken, is what he would like to see. And if this committee then votes in favor of that, it would then go before the Board of County Commissioners to vote it up or down, to put it on the ballot.
Okay. Well,
Is that correct, Councilman? Is that correct? Yes. Okay.
What I'd really like to do is be able to talk about this in a way where we had more time and that we were able to read one sentence at a time and go.
Mr. Hurley, if you would just answer that question
Yeah.
right now, we can come back to that though, but.
In a word, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. Mr. Wilcox.
so to clarify, we're not talking about offering up these 10 specifically. We're talking about a broader discussion of developing those as a committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The chair recognizes Mr. Davis. So hold on. So what I'm trying to do is at least recognize those who have not spoken first before we go back
Right.
to those who've already spoken. I know you want to say, Mr. Hurley, that I'm ignoring your sign, but I am not. But I want to allow those who have not spoken to speak before we go back to you, Mr. Hurley. Mr. Davis.
Can we get a restatement of the actual motion?
Yes, option 2, to direct staff to prepare a charter amendment providing a Bill of Rights for Leon County citizens.
Okay. I would like to make a friendly amendment to the motion. And that amendment would be to add to that, to bring back something that reflects the rights enumerated or listed in the Broward and Miami-Dade charters, for us then to move from that towards what we want.
I'm confused. Now, so you wanting us to identically what they have is what you're saying?
For them to bring something back that reflects the specific rights that are listed out in those that are already laid out, and then we can adjust that as we need as a committee once that amendment, or once that item comes back.
Okay. Now, I know we have, 2 or 3 more meetings. I don't know if we would have enough time to do all of the, in 2 more meetings, but just taking that into consideration. But would you accept that friendly amendment, Mr. Hurley?
Yes, I would, so long as we're not closing our options at that point. We're keeping it. I think if the intent was to keep it as broad as possible so that we can facilitate a conversation and.
Right. Directly to that, this would give us the ability to have a framework that's already been voted by citizens in other areas of the state. Something that's already laid out. I think most of the things that are laid out in those, most of the people in this room would not have an issue with those being laid out in our charter. And we can either adjust those towards what Mr. Hurley has, or we can not move forward with it as a committee, but then we'll at least have an actual framework of the wording that we want to move from.
It's a friendly amendment.
Okay.
And
Hold on, Mr. Hurley. All right, does anybody else who has not spoken? Oh, Chair recognizes Mrs. Favors.
I'm directing this to Ken or Ms. Chastity. Is there anything in the 2 documents that have been referred to that would impact sovereign immunity in any negative way or any way that we don't understand at this point?
Madam County Attorney.
In terms of what's listed in the exhibit that Mr. Hurley provided?
At least that, yes.
Well, if you look at, sorry, let me get there.
page 18.
I think it's number 10. What Mr. Hurley suggested converts it to something that's a value statement to something that is potentially actionable, and that's where it becomes problematic.
So that one item would be problematic?
Potentially, again, I'm trying to get to the specific language. No, I'm looking for what Mr. Hurley's handout says.
It's page 18.
Yeah.
Page 18.
Can we come back to that and let's move to Mr. Chair recognizes Mr. Murray for your questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just to go back to that statement, you go to page 14 of this and it talks about the Miami-Dade County. And the last, 2 sentences, as Ms. Chastity pointed out, give me great pause. I don't think we should be acting in a way that this could create judicial remedies for a violation of the Bill of Rights. If we're looking at this as value statements and guiding principles, that's one thing. But if it's actually going to create judicial waterfall in the way of people can take this to the court and argue about it and create more court cases, I think that's a pretty big issue.
So,
Madam County Attorney.
sorry, found the page. So number 10 in Mr. Hurley's handout says,
Tell us what page you're on so they could.
yes, it's attachment 1, page 1 of the agenda item. It says, these rights belong to all who dwell within Leon County, and no law or ordinance shall be construed to abridge them. So first of all, again, nothing in our charter can preempt or conflict with anything that's in federal or state law. So we could not put that language in there that no law can be construed to abridge those rights. And further, again, an ordinance is local law, but again, to the extent the county cannot waive its sovereign immunity and someone tries to sue under this charter provision, I do not believe that is something that is actionable in a court of law under existing case law. And the only people that would be bound, or the only entity that would be bound by this charter amendment is the county, not the city. not other constitutional officers, not anybody but the county. Because we don't have jurisdiction to impose any of these rights on other constitutional officers or the city.
Okay, now, Mr. Hurley, I see your sign up and I see Attorney Edwards. So if there are no other comments, I'd like to go to Attorney Edwards and then I'll let you close out, Mr. Hurley. But I want to ask first before I get to Attorney Edwards, is there anybody else that wants to speak on this issue? So we will have Attorney Edwards and then we'll let you close out with your comments, Mr. Hurley, and then we'll bring this in for a vote. Thank you.
I just have a question that's probably more for the county attorney. If there is a language change to the preamble, does that have the same legal effect as adding the additional Bill of Rights? For example, if, as Committee Member Jones stated, we are stating, here are our values. Does that, is that, I guess, does that legally bind the county and make it subject to legal action in the same way that adding this whole other section on Bill of Rights?
As it depends on the language. I mean, it really doesn't matter where you put it in the charter. It's the intent and what the language actually says, kind of like words matter. So if it's very clear that these are value statements, then those are not enforceable, whether they're in the preamble or in a separate Bill of Rights. If there's something in there that is unclear, that's potentially a problem because that invites some sort of a legal action to attempt to construe the language as creating a right, a new right, a different right that didn't previously exist. So I would say that it's more important what the words actually say and that they be clear about the intent than the location in the charter itself.
Thank you.
Okay, any further comments? Attorney Edwards, that's all?
I think that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, Mr. Hurley.
Thank you. I don't want to get too lost in legal land on this, y'all. I would like to do whatever we can do to enshrine these values into the hearts and minds and charter of our community. And I would like to navigate this in whatever way ends up with a ballot amendment that we can all agree to. And I look to what has worked in Broward and Miami in doing that, but I'm completely open-minded to any other approaches. The thing I wanted to remind you all of is that over the summer, no matter what you think of the national administration, our country is going to be embarking on America 250. And that's going to touch all parts of our community and historic sites, and it's going to start civic conversations, some positive and some negative. And I ask you all who sit around this Charter Review Committee, do you want Leon County to be part of that conversation? Do you want us to have a mechanism to have civic pride, to talk about our shared values as a community? And if so, I ask that you allow this amendment to continue being worked on and that we bring this back at another item to have staff look at not only what's been presented here, but also reflecting Committee Member Davis's suggestion that we also look at the Miami and Broward language, and we allow staff to come up with some kind of options for us to consider further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. Now, I know there must be a reason why staff recommended option one, and one of the best closers that I know, I'd recognize the best county administrator, as my commissioner says on planet Earth, our county administrator, Mr. Long.
True setup. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, should the motion pass to, of course, and try to be very respectful of giving you all the ample time to chew on all of these things. Should the motion pass, obviously we'll come back with a Bill of Rights, and then you guys will have that discussion and that sort of thing. And you probably won't hear, me weigh in or staff weigh in at that point. But I think, again, the reason that just a couple things to keep in mind. The reason that we sort of illuminated the preamble here. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about the preamble, but the reason we illuminated the preamble here now is to obviously demonstrate that this is where a lot of your values statement type of language resides in most charters that don't drill further down and start talking about very, very, specific things. And so when we talk about that, again, and then we further break it down here, if I can, we talk about, we hold up the governmental decisions affecting local interests should be made locally. So we underscore home rule and those issues. And we talk about that we should serve the people of the county and that the government should be reflective of the people we serve. And certainly that speaks to equity issues and those sorts of things. We talk about more responsiveness and efficiency and that sort of thing. And of course, the ability of the people to make changes in their government. Now, again, if this language too needs to, if there's additional language, sort of like what Mr. Jones was talking about, that would further articulate some of the aspirational language that the committee would like to see, certainly that's all fair and on the table. This preamble is where that type of thing generally resides, unless you want to go down and again further sort of start adding additional that would be found in a Bill of Rights, which certainly the committee could do. One other thing I would just ask you to think about a little bit as you're thinking about these sort of things, just sort of pull back a little bit. There's value statements, and then there's what you actually do. As I like to say in our organization that core practices eat core values for breakfast every morning, and so we went a little further in this item to talk about our core practices in the county. These are adopted by the board, and this is on page 5, what we actually do at the county every day. And certainly you'll see a lot of language there on page 5. And then you'll see, which is also included and adopted by the board, a language that says what we believe in. And I just want to take a quick point to say, the first bullet there says, and you don't see this in many places that goes sort of this far, but language that says demonstrating to our citizens that we are on their side, letting them know that they are the reason we exist and what they're getting for their tax dollars. And then it goes further to address some of these other more specific things. I just wanted to point out to you there that, again, there are core values and there are articulations of core values. I'm told that Vladimir Putin has a very beautifully framed set of core values in his office. And then there's what you actually do. And so I want to just point that out. Again, food for thought for the committee, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. So we have option 2 with the friendly amendment, and Mr. Davis, I'm going to ask that you restate that. I mean, I know you know what it is because I didn't write it down. So if you restate that so we will know what we're about to vote on, please.
Well, Chair, I've had 3 sips of coffee since then, so I'll do my best to do a little bit better job. The friendly amendment would be for the county to bring back something that reflects the specific rights enumerated or listed in the Broward and Miami-Dade charters. I understand that, very well stated by a committee member, that there are certain areas of those that we don't really need. I think the first 10, most of us could definitely get behind in some way, shape, or form. But I feel that particular, something that worked from that framework rather than what Mr. Hurley's already presented us would give us a better framework to work from. We could scratch the areas that we don't want to go into.
All of that is a part of your motion, Mr. Davis?
Point well made and taken, Chair.
I just want to make sure.
I'll state it one more time.
Okay, thank you.
For the staff to bring back a sample list of rights that reflect the rights listed in the other 2 examples given.
Period.
Period.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we asked that the clerk will call the roll. Or Nikki, Ms. Hatch, please call the roll.
Joey Davis,
Yes.
Linda Bond Edwards,
No.
Liz Ellis,
No.
Anita Favors, Max Hurley,
Yes.
Daryl Jones, Slayton Murray,
No.
Sean Pittman. Oh, sorry, out of the room. Ryan Ray, also out. Okay. Shamario Roberson.
No.
William Smith.
No.
Bruce Struble.
Yes.
Jarrett Terry.
No.
Katrina Tuggerson.
I'm gonna pause for a second. So, and if I may, can I ask, Chair Member Jones, is this not similar to what we?
Ma'am, now's not the time for discussion. You should have listed an unreadiness, but right now we need to vote, if you don't mind.
What?
It's either yes, in favor of the motion and the friendly amendment stated, or no, you do not. You're not in favor of it. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna vote at all.
Okay, I don't know, do we have
Can
a mechanism to
I
abstain?
just wanted clarity, so, I understood what everything was saying, I just had, something just popped in my mind, so without the clarity, I don't wanna vote.
Do we have a mechanism for abstentions, Madam County Attorney?
She has a conflict,
Okay.
perception of a conflict, then she doesn't have to vote. Otherwise, member is required to vote.
Will you speak into your microphone, please, so we can all hear you?
If there is a conflict you can state on the record or a perception of a conflict that you want to state for not voting, then you don't have to vote. Otherwise, there is a requirement to vote.
Okay. Yes.
Barry Wilcox.
No.
Vice Chair Haynes.
No. Madam Clerk?
There are 5 yeas and 9 nays.
Thank you so much.
The motion fails.
Motion fails. Moving on to agenda item number 2. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. The chair recognizes Mr. Jones. I'm sorry.
My motion would just be that we would refer the preamble back to staff. That would then ultimately achieve what I have described as that we would incorporate that our government would esteem the humanity found in all persons in our community.
Is that the same substitute motion that I was trying to get you to offer earlier that, when you made your original comments? Is there a second for Mr. Jones' motion?
I'll second his motion.
The second by Attorney Edwards. Is there any discussion? Yes.
That we would send the preamble of our charter back to staff to come back with language that esteems the humanity found in all of our neighbors.
And second by Attorney
which would provide them the opportunity to provide the language that is best. I don't want to go afar of any legal implications of my commentary. I just want us as a community, when we govern with the thoughts of our neighbors and their humanity. Let me give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about. There are communities in our country who lay out nail beds in places where homeless people sleep and have the right to do so. If we as a community say we esteem the humanity found in all people, then we don't make those types of decisions, regardless of who sits in office, whatever policy we have, that we respect the humanity found in all of our neighbors. That's what I'm hoping. That's the lofty notion that I would hope would be achieved in our preamble. No different than the preamble found in our Constitution.
Motion by Mr. Jones, second by Attorney Linda Bond Edwards. Chair recognizes Mr. Wilcox.
Can I ask staff, is amending the preamble the same process as amending the actual charter amendments? It is. Okay, thank you.
Chair recognizes Ms. Tullerson.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Talk now, Chair. So with that is what I wanted to point out, because I think it got diluted when Mr. Chairmember Harold Max kept asking different questions and making it go that different direction. Thank you, Jones, for clearing that up. And that's what I wanted to clarify.
Okay, Chair recognizes Mr. Smith.
Is there any, maybe for the attorney, is there any legal, we don't have any legal precedent for that, what you put in the preamble, do you? I mean, there's no legal authority, I guess is the better word.
Madam County Attorney.
No, again, these are value statements that would not be actionable. Were they to be included in the preamble, it would be very clear from any language that staff proposes that they are value statements only and are not creating a cause of action and are not enforceable. Anything we bring back would make that very clear.
All right. Chair recognizes Mr. Hurley.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all's patience with this. I know this is not simple to write Leon County's Bill of Rights and the preamble here. I do want to remind us all that this is the only remaining really vehicle for any sort of change, and if we close the door on this, then we're not really going to have anything. If anyone has any bright ideas a couple months from now, we're not going to be able to add anything to an affordable housing amendment or a food sustainability amendment. I was speaking with a county commissioner yesterday, and I was talking to them about how they were complimenting the work of this group. And this is our 6th meeting? 7th. So we will have been here around this table for 14 hours in total so far. And we've done a lot of great work. I want to make sure that the language that we put in front of people, including the county commission, is as thoroughly vetted as possible, and that we get to get community feedback as diverse as possible. And I'm wondering if there is an interest from this group in, as part of this process between today and August, when we submit formally this language to the Leon County Commission, to do community charrettes on this language and also the language of the other amendments. I understand this is complicated because we're sort of playing ping pong right now between the Leon County Commission and the Charter Review. And that's why I intend to ask the county commission themselves to also talk about this at the meeting on the 27th, and I anticipate that they will. I don't know that we need to make a motion per se, but I just wanted to ask you all to think about that, and as we think about our expectations over the next 6 months here.
Right. We're not going to entertain any motions on charrettes, but right now the motion that we have before us is dealing with agenda item number 1 and the motion given by Mr. Jones and seconded by Attorney Edwards. So now is the time if we need any clarity before we vote, Ms. Tubberson, and not to be rude, but we don't stop in the middle. You know, I just want to make sure. Does anybody else have any other questions? So before we begin voting, any other questions? All right, Ms. Hatchwell, on Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, will you state again for the record? Will you state your motion so we know what we're voting on, please?
That the staff would be directed to. That staff would be directed to bring back an edit to the preamble that esteems the humanity of our neighbors.
All right, Ms. Hatch, would you call the roll?
Joey Davis,
Yes.
Linda Bond Edwards,
Yes.
Liz Ellis,
Yes.
Anita Favors,
Yes.
Max Hurley,
Yes.
Daryl Jones,
Yes.
Slayton Murray,
Yes.
Ryan Ray,
Yes.
Shamaro Roberson,
Yes.
William Smith,
Sure.
Bruce Ribble,
Yes.
Jarrett Terry,
Yes.
Katrina Tuggerson,
Yes.
Barry Wilcox,
Obviously, yes.
Vice Chair Haynes.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously with 15 yeas. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we can move to agenda item 2. If we can, as I stated earlier, if we can spend about 30 minutes on this, and so we can get out in a timely manner, we'd like to hand it over to, I'm not sure if it's going to be Shinkton or Abby or both. So Shinkton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, members. As requested by the committee, this item provides information on the county's ongoing efforts to address poverty and inequities as you consider amending the county charter to include language that would provide exclusive or priority resources and services to communities that have experienced past and historic racial discrimination or harmful public policy. The specific proposal is attached and thoroughly analyzed in the item to demonstrate the actions, the policies, programs, and investments already made by the county that align with the proposal. This includes more than $34 million in human services and other essential programs to improve the lives of residents in high-poverty neighborhoods in just the past 5 years. At the same time, more than $300 million in infrastructure investments, such as road improvements, sidewalks, and sewer services that have or are being made in those same neighborhoods are included in this item. We go to great length in the item to explain the empirical data like the U.S. Census that we utilize to identify, engage, and invest in poverty and inequity in the community, and not based on simply race data. And it's because of the empirical data, we in partnership with the city and other community stakeholders are tackling poverty and inequities in the Bond community, Frenchtown, Griffin Heights, and Southside neighborhoods, just to name a few. In fact, approximately 75% of the residents served by the Human Service Agencies through the county and city's CHSP program live in these neighborhoods and are receiving things like, have access to feeding programs, housing programs, healthcare programs. We recognize that there is a parallel between those neighborhoods we're investing in and the communities that have experienced racial discrimination and inequities. They have the highest percentage of minorities compared to other neighborhoods here in Tallahassee, Leon County. But the most important thing you need to know, members, is that all of the policies, the programs, and investments that we're doing are in accordance with state and federal laws, because we use empirical data to respond to the need that doesn't take into solely consideration issues of historical racial discrimination or just race. The only exception is our MWSB program, which we operate in partnership with the city. It's one of the very, very, very few narrowly defined race and gender-based program established to enhance procurement opportunities with the county for small businesses, and it is currently legally sound. But as we present in this item, as well as the subsequent item, even that program is in jeopardy. As many of you know and have been reported in our local media as recently as yesterday, there are ongoing state and federal efforts to prohibit local governments from adopting, implementing policies and programs that address historical racial disenfranchisements or diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. Bills have been filed in this legislative session that define DEI, set terms for removing elected officials that adopt DEI-related policies and programs, and authorizes citizens to sue counties and cities that adopt DEI policies and programs. And that's just in the state of Florida. At the federal level, presidential executive orders have rescinded long-standing federal contractor requirements related to race and gender-based employment and contracting practices. And most importantly for us, federal agencies have begun including language in grant contracts that require recipients to certify that they do not, quote, operate any programs that advance or promote DEI or discriminatory equity ideology. That's what led Palm Beach County Commission to hold an emergency meeting last year to rescind its MWSB program so it can ensure that it did not lose millions of federal dollars. Many of you may know last month the county was awarded $16.8 million in grant funding from the United States Department of Transportation for improvements to North Monroe Street. We're currently coordinating now with the agency on the grant contract, on the development of that grant contract, and which may impose similar provisions that prohibit DI-related policies and programs. As a result, the adoption of the proposal into the county charter would jeopardize those funds. Therefore, we're not recommending further consideration by the committee. Instead, we include an alternative option for the committee to provide a policy recommendation to the board that encourages the approach that we've been utilizing and the way that we've been investing and that we've paid attention to these communities and the continued commitment of the county to reducing poverty and inequities in the community. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lammy. Members, we've heard the presentation by staff for agenda item 2. You have 3 options listed before you. The chair will entertain a motion for an option. Dr. Strobel?
I'm going to option for committee direction.
Okay.
Where we will give an alternative option, being that there was no option listed here, interestingly. I would suggest a motion that we move and direct staff to prepare draft language for amending the Leon County Charter to establish a new article requiring the county to assess and address persistent community disparities resulting from historic public policies. And I can answer more questions about that and why it wouldn't violate any of the said laws, and we could talk that out with the attorneys.
All right, let me just address one thing. This is probably the second comment that I've heard about something about a staff recommendation and it not being in a good mood. But let me share with you a sign that's on the outside of the county commission chambers. All are welcome here. We want to have a pledge of civility. We will be respectful of one another, even when we disagree. We will direct all comments to the issues. We will avoid personal attacks. Politeness costs so little, by Abraham Lincoln. So, I mean, our staff who works so very hard provides us with recommendations. I mean, we don't have to like those recommendations. If we don't, Dr. Strobel just recommended option number 4. And that's what we should do instead of making, option 3, I'm sorry, instead of making little snippet comments about what we're being provided or what have you. Let's just be, with all civility to everyone here, okay? Can we do that? Now, we've heard his option. Is there a second by Mr. Hurley? Is there discussion? Okay, we'll recognize you, Dr. Strobel, since it's your motion.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that the motion itself, that what we're requesting is not where it's not necessarily in the traditional sense of DEI, and that is because of recognizing the federal situation and what's going on in the state. So what we're saying is to look at historic public policy from Leon County itself and how those policies have harmed communities, and then look for ways to rectify. So it's identifying problems that were caused through historic public policy, things that were done intentionally, as we heard from our speakers earlier. They had outcomes, they have long-standing consequences, and we're arguing it's the county's responsibility, therefore, to address those. And I don't believe, and I'll ask the Madam Attorney, if there is any statute or federal or state law that prevents a county or any municipality from rectifying the wrongdoings or historic wrongdoings in public policy.
Madam County Attorney?
Are you talking about historic wrongdoings based on race or gender?
Historic wrongdoings, if there was a public policy, for example, that allowed convict leasing, if there was a public policy that allowed gentrification, if something happened and the county recognizes that it did wrong and it is already apologized for said behavior, would it be something that precludes them from taking action?
I'm going to ask the question again. Are you trying to address historical wrongs based on race? Because if so, then that's problematic.
Race could be a factor in this, but the primary factor would be that it was historic public policy that impacted a particular community or neighborhood.
And how would those be identified?
That is what we will be asking for the county to do, to identify and then address.
And if it turns out that that's based on race, that's a problem.
So if the county did something that harmed a particular race, there would be a problem in rectifying that.
Potentially. And the reason is, again, as Shinkton summarized earlier, under federal executive order now, and it's currently in federal rulemaking to make it formal for agencies, they are tying the receipt of federal dollars to certifications that people do not have race-based or DEI-based policies, period. And the potential problem with certifying that when it's not true is prosecution under the False Claims Act, which has criminal penalties associated with it. So at the federal level, potentially, it's do you want federal money for projects or don't you? And that's a choice. You don't have to take federal money, nobody does. But if you want the money, you have to be able to certify. Otherwise, you could be committing a crime. Now, under state law, Currently, it's not a problem, but there's nothing preventing the state from including language in appropriations bills that are similar to what's currently in federal executive orders for contractors. There are currently bills pending that would completely prohibit programs, policies, anything that is defined as diversity, equity, and inclusion. And even if it currently exists, it voids it. So, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, but the writing is on the wall that these sorts of activities based on race or gender and things of that nature are problematic legally.
And I'm glad you clarified that. And I think, again, that's why it's important to note that there's no race declaration or race inclusive language in this. It's neutral, and it says based off the impacts of the policy. So if you were to find that there were any group of people, regardless of race, impacted by said policies, then they would then become the target of the county's remediation strategy. So that is what this proposed article will offer, and that's why I'm still suggesting that we move forward with it.
All right. Mr. Murray, did I see your card up? Chair recognizes Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to let more discussion go on before I circle back.
All right.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Attorney Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the analysis that the staff put together, more specifically on page 36. And there's a sentence in that paragraph that's next to the bottom. And it says, "It is important to note that the Board of County Commissioners did not have a policy-making role in many of these historic inequities, such as segregation of schools, land use decisions within city limits, lending decisions by private institutions, or operational control of law enforcement actions." And so, and it goes on to state some things that the county has done to address inequities when they have been noted. And so my question is, by inserting language into the charter, are we going to really address the issues that have been raised? And I'm not suggesting that the issues aren't issues. That's not my point. But my question is this really the way to address the inequities that have been identified? Because one of the things that I heard Mr. Lammy talk about were the actions that the county had taken up to this point, the amount of money that had been invested. And the statement that sticks with me that he said was they were at a meeting in a community next door, and a person who lives next door to where the resources are didn't even know the resource was available. And so I guess my concern is there a lack of resources, or is there a lack of knowledge of the access to those resources? So again, are we inserting language that 8 years from now we'll come back and discuss again?
Chair recognizes, I don't know who was first, but what I'm going to do is just go around the room if you don't mind. Chair recognizes Ms. Tuggerson.
Thank you, Chair. So echoing right with Attorney Edwards. So I've reviewed this county agenda a couple of times, and that's because the Capital City Chamber has always partnered with the county on addressing poverty and racial inequity, and I thank them for that. All the way down to us bringing dollars into the community, not just out of the county's budget, but also from philanthropic arms that has committed to this cause. With that being said, when the DEI and all of the stuff, like Attorney Austin said, the writing is on the wall. So the question would be, how do we continue to do what we're doing, and also be in alignment with what's going on, and also to keep the MWSBE office is still available and working right now, but are we making sure that as we move forward, because things are changing every day, are we also looking at being realistic and addressing what the positions, their titles, everything? It needs to be almost, I hate to say it, but sanitized. And the reason then, if I see that the county provided the document that we just did, what I'd say, a year ago, we did this a year ago. When we got this grant with the county, the Capital City Chamber got this grant with the county, and it's addressing Leon County's financial empowerment blueprint, it was a whole different title. It included the words, something relating to DEI, but we had to go back through before we submitted to print, before we submit it to the county, in order for us to be in line with what the state is doing. So I want to make sure nobody fight the people more than I do. I just want to make sure that we, as a community, we're moving forward and doing what we need to do, but at the same time, putting the language in there that aligns with what's happening. We can't change what's happening, but how do we align with it? Because we're not going anywhere. God put us all here equal. So and it's not that our community want to get rid of the MWSBE program. We're not moving towards that, but how do we work with what we have?
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Toguson. We'll let the county attorney, I think, address some of your comments or concerns.
I did also just want to, it wasn't in the agenda materials, but an additional document that has been issued, it was issued Monday, January 19th, by the Attorney General of the state of Florida, who identified every single Florida statute that deals with any race-based contracting, membership on a collegial body, et cetera, and declared they were unconstitutional. Okay? So again, when I'm conveying to you what is being messaged about the legality of race and gender-based and other types of programs like that, they're becoming more frequent. Okay? So again, it wasn't included in the agenda materials. If the committee wanted, Nikki could provide it or post it later, but that's just another document that has been released that identifies issues or concerns and basically creates a blueprint for somebody who wants to challenge any of those types of programs. Okay?
Chair, if I may.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Since receipt of that, how are we as a county or a community addressing it with what we have in place now, as far as making sure we go through every, we use the example of the MWSBE program, how are we addressing it?
So as pointed out in the agenda item, what the county currently does is data-driven and based on socioeconomic, which is not race-based, it's not gender-based. You know, those are neutral. Those are race and gender and those sorts of things. Those are neutral. Those are legally defensible. At least that would be our position. Are there, and it's stated in the agenda item as well, are there certain genders or races that are disproportionately affected by those socioeconomic factors and therefore benefit from those programs or policies? Yes, but that's not the basis and that's not what the data analytics, the rationale and justification for those are. So that's fine. The MWSBE program is different from that. There, as stated in the agenda item, there was a third-party analysis which argues that based on a case, a little bit older case, the Colson case, that it is legally defensible. We do engage the consultant to conduct those studies every 5 years, and that is the basis for the MWSBE policy that we currently have. The consultant will have to undertake that analysis again at the end of this term and determine whether they believe that that program is still legally defensible at that time.
So as of right now, we're still in compliance?
Nothing that we have has been challenged and invalidated, so I would say yes.
Thank you.
Does that answer all your questions, Ms. Toguson?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Just want to make sure. Yes, ma'am. Chair recognizes Mr. Hurley.
Thank you. Thank you, Chastity. I know that this is precarious terrain in a lot of different ways. I wish that committee member Henry Lewis were here. What was the name of the neighborhood that used to exist where the present-day Florida Supreme Court is?
Smoky Hollow.
Was that technically Smoky Hollow?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask, I'm not trying to make an amendment per se, unless that this is a welcome suggestion, but what is the view on if we identified neighborhoods, would that be able to give us a way to have a conversation about where we could look without being in violation of some of these various directives? So for example, what if it identified Smoky Hollow, historic Frenchtown, and Boynton Still?
Madam County Attorney.
I'm sorry, what,
So
for what purpose?
imagine if the ballot language was something like, one second. A program focused on community restoration to strengthen Smoky Hollow, Frenchtown, and Boynton Still.
Is narrowing the scope.
I don't know. I don't know enough about the background. I don't know enough about the history of that or the proposed or the rationale for why it was done or the justification or anything to be able to tell you whether that would be legally permissible or not.
Mr. Lammy, it looks like you have a comment down there.
Yeah, I just want to remind that we utilize data. The most critical thing we do is utilize data in order for us to identify how to invest. We know what the poverty rate is here in our community. We know the third grade reading levels are, what they look like, and how to invest it. We know what the food insecurity rate looks like in certain census tracts here in our community. That's how we invest in these areas in our community, and I think that's critical that we're able to do that. And it has not been done in a situation where it required a charter amendment in order for that to.
CRA. Yeah. I would just add the CRA. You have
Mr. Morris, you're recognized.
Apologies, Mr. Chair. You also have the Community Redevelopment Agency, it's jointly funded by the city and the county. That's a geographic-based approach. There's statutory requirements to enact the CRA. You have to meet certain requirements of a finding of necessity in order to invest in those areas. And most of that's within the city limits. But again, we've participated, the county's participated in that at least 25 years now.
Mr. Hurley?
Well, is there a CRA that applies to the Boynton Still or Smoky Hollow neighborhoods?
Where those places once existed, like once.
If they're in the CRA
Yeah.
area.
Technically, the Smoky Hollow
Mr.
is
Lammy?
within the bound, I'm sorry, technically, the Smoky Hollow, where it existed, is within the CRA boundaries.
Okay, Mr. Hurley, we have about 10 more minutes on this issue, so I know we have other
I'm good,
people.
I'm good, yeah.
You're good now? Okay, thank you. Chair recognizes Ms. Favors.
I think a lot of my questions have been answered in the discussion around the table. By the time it gets to me, I'm,
I can start first. I can
That's- no,
start
that's
you
okay.
first on the next issue if you like.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Strobel, I would like to ask you, because you kind of started this conversation, what, with item number 3, recommendation number 3, what would you be asking us to consider? Would you be asking us to consider a policy recommendation to the county commission or a charter amendment? Because I think that this is really more of a policy issue.
Understood.
Dr. Strobel, you're recognized to answer that question. Now, we got to go to Dr. Robertson, and then I'm going to let you close out as well, okay?
It is a charter amendment, not policy recommendation. It sets a framework for which the county commission would implement policy at their discretion.
Thank you, Dr. Strobel. City Manager, do you have anything else?
Yes. So that, it sounds similar to what we just asked staff to come back with on agenda item number 1. Is that similar, or could that be combined? I'm trying to understand how you see this.
Dr. Strobel.
It would be an article that sets a framework that says the county will investigate historic public policy where it harmed communities and find ways to mitigate that going forward so that we don't just stay stuck in a status quo.
If I'm not mistaken, I think what we did on the very first agenda item, we asked staff to bring back some issues with Broward, Miami-Dade. So, I mean, he's not asking for, what he's asking for is his own charter amendment dealing with this issue here. The one before was asking staff to bring back, the analysis with Miami-Dade and Broward. Is that correct, Dr. Strobel? Okay. Does that help you?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Madam
No.
City Manager? Okay. Madam Secretary?
Hi, everyone. As an epidemiologist, like piggybacking on what people are saying about data driving the narrative. And so I think as we move forward with a recommendation to the county is like making sure that there's always a data-driven approach, because if you have historic things that have happened and those things have not potentially been rectified, you will see like in the data that there are still contemporary needs of things. So I think as we move forward, like putting language that could, put the county in a situation where they could have a problem with federal funding, that's not a wise idea. But I do think being very intentional about the things that we want to address. So I have a question for Dr. Strobel. So when we say address poverty and racial inequity, like on what issues? Are you saying housing? Are you saying education? What are you saying?
Dr. Strobel.
Just to clarify, because of the federal landscape, I intentionally didn't say racial inequality. So it was saying historic public policy, and then we could use the data as you suggested to identify how historic public policy has impacted specific communities, and then look for ways to mediate or to mitigate those problems. And I have not been convinced that there will be any legal conflict yet, because the legal conflict would come if we were trying to say, do this for Latino Americans or do this for Asian Americans or Black Americans. We're saying for Leon County citizens who have been impacted by historic public policy, we could identify those public policies throughout county's history and focus on those. And I think that would keep us out of
Focus on the policy to change the policy, or focus on issues to make investments in issues? Like, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, so in the vision of it, but I can say that because that would come down to the actual commission. I'm saying the framework was set that the county investigates said historic public policy and then identifies these are the consequences of it, these are the lingering issues, and this is how we're going to move forward and address it. And we're setting in the charter in that article that this is the framework for which that is going to take place. So it sets charter authority for the county to take said action.
And I think in general, like us voicing, like making sure that every issue, everything that the county take, consideration of, that we should always be using a data-driven approach. Like, I think at this point in time, that we should consider just ensuring that we're always using data to drive the narrative. So even if you see historic injustices or contemporary problems that are still here, the data will be indicative of where you need to go regardless of race. And then if you're taking a look at social economic status from a data standpoint, that is a proxy to poverty, and making sure that you're looking at that data source related to any of the outcome measures that you want to measure, whether that's housing, whether that's food insecurity, et cetera, but just being very intentional about the recommendation to the county to always use a data-driven approach, because sometimes programs are rendered not with a data-driven approach, but just a historical base. So at this time, if we can use data to drive the narrative, I think we can address a lot of the concerns that people are raising without getting us in the situation. Because I have a question for the attorney. If there is something that's written in the charter and then later it's voted on, or there's a new statute or something, what happens? Because the Charter Review Committee in this process to change it is every so many years. So what happens if there's a new law?
Madam County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what happens is it basically becomes invalid.
Okay.
What we would have to do is just put like a note, a footnote, if you will. That's happened before where, the the campaign contribution limits changed in state law, and it was inconsistent with what was in our code. And so we had to basically put a footnote in there until we could go back and change it. So we would just have to put a note in there until we could do something about it later.
Got it. I think that answers my question, but I just want to make sure on all things that we're looking at, whether it's housing, whether it's food, whether it's education, that there's always approach to use data to drive the narrative so that we're using the funding and or resources efficiently.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I see two other cards up, and I'm going to let Dr. Strobel close out. Chair recognizes Mr. Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is directed for Dr. Strobel. Thank you for putting this together. How do you envision this being funded? And is this going to be a creation of like a new county department to oversee these activities?
Dr. Strobel.
So I'm hesitant to answer that because I believe, I will answer the funding component. If there is a suggestion of, for example, a restoration fund, but it does not require funding immediately, it would say that if grants become available, if there are mitigation efforts that are made and that funding becomes available, it creates a lawful place to place it within the charter arrangement. And for the second, can you restate that second part of your question?
Yes. Sorry. And in the event this is, move forward, is this going to lead to like the creation of a new county department to oversee these activities?
So under the guidance that we've gotten from staff before, that is not something that I would suggest here. That would be something that the county and staff come up with as the charter implements that they take action. They will make those determinations going forward.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Chair recognizes Mr. Wilcox.
Question for staff, just if I'm understanding this right, so we're still safe to move forward based upon data-driven approaches to these issues, socioeconomic data, health outcomes, educational attainment, things like that. It's just we have to be very mindful, clearly, of the wording due to the political theater that we're all watching at the moment. Is that correct?
Madam County Attorney?
Yes, I mean, if we can justify our programs and our policies based on gender, race, national origin, all the things neutral, and it is data-driven, then if it is challenged, we should be able to defend it. But to be clear, none of that, no matter which word you use, can really be considered a proxy for any program or policy that is really gender or race or any other class-based. It really truly has to be a neutral policy or program, period.
Is there language in the current proposal that is concerning?
So,
Mr. Looney?
the proposal, when you look at its entirety, specifically starts off with problem statements that talk specifically about issues regarding redlining, Jim Crow segregation, slavery. I mean, those are the things that staff reacted to as we put the analysis together in developing this agenda item. Those things would be problematic because they're clearly looking specifically at race-related issues that's happening here in our nation.
Mr. Wilcox?
Yeah, no, I think that answers my questions.
All right, thank you. County Administrator?
Just very quickly for my part, I'm just trying to pull up a little higher level on the issue too, just something to think about. It's very understandable that we could all get mired in the layers of issues, political and otherwise. And I would just offer and if we articulated, and we try to do a good job of summarizing, but if we articulated every program and policy in Leon County that we have that addresses in some way what we're discussing here, again, it's very, very exhaustive, and it's never enough, and it's not enough. But surely the commitment is there. The way that I look at it is just very simply, kind of follow the money sort of thing. And I may get in trouble with Chastity here a little bit, but it says it in your item, and I just think that it's important to observe. And again, and this goes to whether you want to reinforce to the county commission what you're doing, keep doing it, do more of it, which is a policy statement and not a charter statement. Something I would just offer is, again, when you look at the item, there's three ways that and we put it in buckets. There's kind of three ways we do things. Look at the money we spend on programs, the money we spend on operating, on services, direct services to the community. Everything else, stuff we spend money on is stuff we have to do, according to the state of Florida, mandates and otherwise. But if you look at direct human services to community, 75% of that money, we're talking about millions of dollars every year, 75% of those dollars go to the neighborhoods that are articulated in this item. What are those neighborhoods, Shankton?
Vaughn, Frenchtown, Griffin Heights, South City, Providence.
75% of the money that goes through this human service goes to that. And then you want to look at infrastructure dollars, right? Big money. Where does our infrastructure dollars go? The Blueprint 2000 pays for most of our infrastructure. 62% of the infrastructure dollars in this community, now I'm not talking about millions of dollars, I'm not talking about tens of millions of dollars, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, go to, what are the zip codes, Shankton?
32304, 32303, 32310, 32301, and 32305.
Finally, policy. What are we doing from a standpoint of policy? When we talked about purchasing and procurement, we are one of the very few, very few in the country, or in the state or the country, local governments, the city and the county, who do a race-based, gender-based program and Blueprint, on Blueprint, all three. And again, we do it all very legally, follow the letter of the law. But again, it's a unicorn. There are not many that exist. I think we spend about hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the study alone that allows us to do the program when we update the study every 5 years. I think it's about $500,000. That just allows us to do the program. So again, just some things to think about, not enough, but again, it may be just a way to sort of organize, thinking around these things. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. County Administrator. Dr. Strobel to close, please.
All right, so I want to thank Mr. Chair, the rest of the committee, and staff. I want to acknowledge the county's analysis and the significant work that the county's already done to address a lot of the issues that have been raised. My purpose today is not to dispute that work, but I'm asking a different question that I think we can answer as a committee, and that is not whether the county has acted, but the question is whether we have acknowledged policy-created harms, and should they be addressed only through programs in the already existing plans, or if the charter can provide a durable framework that ensures those responsibilities endure beyond funding cycles, who's in office, what particular administration is in place. That could change, and then that could change a lot of the outcomes that we see here that are already happening. That's why the charter is a safer place to address this issue. So I want to be very clear about this proposal. It does not, and what it does not do, it does not mandate any spending. It does not require race-based programs. It does not override state or federal laws, and it does not compel future boards to take any specific actions. What it does is far more modest. It creates authority, permission, and a lawful place in the charter where restoration can occur. And if future boards choose to act on this using grants, settlements, or any means that become available to them, they have a lawful place in existing resources and framework. So we've heard, I think we've heard on it. So I'll restate the motion to close here. Okay, direct staff to prepare draft language for amending the county charter to establish an article requiring the county to assess and address persistent community disparities resulting from historic public policy.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hatch, would you call the roll?
Joey Davis.
Hold on one second. Please be mindful of our time. We're 1:05. Madam City? Yes, it was a second. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Terry, really quick.
I promise I have a very quick question. Can amendments be repealed?
Can what amendments? Amendments to?
If this is a charter amendment, can it be repealed in 8 years or whatever?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Madam City Manager, you had something else?
Yes, I wanted to understand clearly, what we're asking is for staff to develop something that we will have another opportunity to vote on. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. All right, any other questions before we, Ms. Hatch?
Joey Davis.
Yes.
Linda Bond Edwards.
Yes.
Anita Favors.
Yes.
Max Hurley.
Yes.
Daryl Jones.
Yes.
Slayton Murray,
Yes.
Ryan Ray,
Yes.
Shamaro Roberson,
Yes.
William Smith, Bruce Strobel,
Yes.
Jarrett Terry,
Yes.
Katrina Tuggerson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Haynes.
Yes.
The motion passes 13 in favor, 0 in opposition.
All right, thank you. Let's move to agenda item 3, Mr. Lammy.
Okay, so your last and final item, so the Charter Review Committee requesting agenda items to consider amending the county charter to adopt a community value statement in support of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this kind of falls in the same line of what we talked about in this previous item, members, about the fact that there is issues right now with state and federal rules that are seeking through legislation to prohibit the adoption and implementation of policies, programs, and services that have historically disenfranchised, racial disenfranchisement, I'm sorry, that word just kills me, guys, yeah, and DEI. While a community value statement expresses shared value and generally considered non-binding, putting it in our charter, again, could jeopardize dollars, federal dollars that we're trying to get here in our community. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lammy. Okay, now we got Mr. Wilcox back. Mr. Wilcox, we need you here to make sure we have our quorum of at least 11. The chair will recognize Mr. Jones as I think the maker of this particular recommendation or proposal. Mr. Jones? Option 1 has been, motion been made for option 1. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Mr. Murray. Is there any discussion? I'm afraid to ask twice. Is there any discussion on option 1? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed will say nay. Ayes have it. Thank you so very much. If you would bear with me, we had, I know we've moved from our period of public comment, but we did have some cards that came in after our public comment, and we want to be flexible, especially since we're giving you some time back. We're going to ask Mr. Bill Lohman to come forward. You've got 3 minutes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Bill Lohman, live at 3742 Dorset Way. Been here in Leon County since 2001. I'm going to be very brief. I thought it was very amusing, the contradictions that we're talking about here. First of all, talking about quoting Lincoln and civility, the person who was responsible for the bloodiest war that we have ever fought. And also talking about denying race because of the federal government that enforced the data of race, right? The reason we have data, racial data, is because the federal government does not allow us to identify ourselves any other way. I would suggest, I'm also here in support of ALERT and its agenda, but I would suggest that we just get rid of all of that discussion and just talk about restoring human beings who are citizens of the United States, right? To a level in which we want human beings to exist in this country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I noticed Mr. Akbar submitted a card, but I see he walked out. I'm not sure if he's gone or not, but Attorney Akbar?
You got to leave.
Okay, all right. Ms. Maisha Mitchell, you please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes, please.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, Maisha Mitchell, 1009 Ellington Court, Tallahassee, 32304. So you are talking about me here today. So, in several ways, yes. One is the fact that I was born in Smoker Hollow, so I know exactly what that historical placement was. And we were impacted by displacement, which is not on your list. And what it does for a community that opens the way for new development and promises that were not kept, and then places where now parks exist. And the people are not cared for, are still suffering in many ways. We've seen homelessness as a result of that. We've seen so much health impairments and stress, particularly with these communities. Those folks who live there and who are still living, who are beyond my age even. Secondly, the DEI piece that you talked about, I was directly impacted by that and pretty much lost my job at the housing with the Leon County Health Department. We work with many people across the state, 67 counties, to develop a health equity plan for all the counties. And then we were told that that plan could not be used anymore. That's 3 years ago. And so that plan still exists. We identified all the things that you talked about here today. And as a result, there were over 100 words that came out of NIH, the Science Foundation, National Science Foundation, to say that we could not use those words. And as a result of that, many people in our community are suffering because there is no DEI policy. There's no way to say in this country that we cannot use DEI. That's what the country is based on. So what do we do with that? And in this community here in Florida, Tallahassee, Leon, we have a lot of reckoning to think about. And I want to just say to you, I trust that you will really take this into consideration and think about the human beings that have been impacted over time by various policies. We need charter. We need something that's going to help us to sustain ourselves and to be resilient over time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we adjourn, I wanted to just take an opportunity. I know some of you may say it's certainly their job, but I wanted to acknowledge, I mean, I don't know how many of us have been in this room before it looks like this, but I wanted to acknowledge the hard work of the individuals that I work with on a daily basis, the county. I mean, to let you know how big this charter committee is, I mean, of all of the individuals and departments that are here that help put this together, we were away at some meeting before and the county administrator was there and I said, where are you going? He said, well, look, I got a county to run, so I've got to go back to the office. So he's here at every meeting. So I want to acknowledge, and if you would, acknowledge our county administration, our county attorney's office, information technology, CMR, library services, facilities management, our clerk's office, and all of our staff that make this room look like it does when we don't see it, and then have the opportunity also to tear it down. So would you please acknowledge them, give them a round of applause, please, for all of the work that they do. Thank you so much. And thank you all for coming and for a good meeting. Our next meeting is on February the 5th. We have exhausted our agenda. We stand adjourned. Thank you so much.
I didn't realize.
You don't need a motion for that?
No, sir. When the agenda is
Exhausted,
complete,
you done?
you do not need a motion.
Roberts?
Okay.
All right, man. Let's see.
I didn't know.
Gotta have it.
And the amazing thing that I will say is that despite the fact that we're all piled up in the library and it's a very tight space, in the year that I spent